Hey everybody, it's Chris here again for another video for you guys. Today we're going to be working on crosshair placement and how to improve your aim in general. I'm going to have some help today with my buddy Zondo, who's on my CSGO team. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
So that's his voice. It's an early morning voice. I woke him up. He's mad at me. But for the better of the community, he's going to help out today. So let's first start off on what crosshair placement is. So let's say Zondo's holding a corner as a terrorist, and I'm a CT. And I want to peek him. You never want to peek somebody like this, so pay close attention to my crosshair and watch what I do. Okay, now you notice how I had to react to that shot. Now, technically, you shouldn't have to. Most pro players know what crosshair placement is, and when you come around corners, you have your crosshair ready to shoot somebody no matter where they're at. So, for instance, let's say I know Zondo's there. Let's say I was just battling him for a second and he shot again, so I know he's on that corner for sure. When I come around, I want to pretend like technically I have no walls, so like I'm hacking, you know, and you put your crosshair through the wall because I know he's right there. So when you come out, you're already predetermining where your crosshair is, so it's right on him, if that makes sense. So all you have to do is just come out and shoot. You don't have to actually react to your shot. This will also make it so your muscle memory, because it's not always perfect, your muscle memory might fail. And a lot of pros in this game do crosshair placement, so you guys need to make sure that you are doing it. So once again, a typical player, especially from a pub server who's never really played competitive, what they're going to do is this. And that's how they're going to peek somebody. So once again, you want to make sure you're putting your crosshair through the wall when you're peeking. Now, the only time you want to put it through the wall is if you know where they're at for sure. For instance, let's go to Halls real quick. Let's say you don't really know where this guy in Halls is, and you're working as a terrorist. You want to make sure you do two things. First off is Jogo Peeking, which is coined by GB James, who is a 1.6 invite player. And this is what Jogo Peeking is when you come around a corner and you just kind of peek it real quick. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure your crosshair placement isn't through the wall, but you still have it kind of lined up on where he might be. So, for instance, when you come through, you want to make sure you keep your crosshair, on the wall. So when you come up, your crosshair's right there, and it's not in some random direction. You have to do a flick shot. So once again, something like this. And then you can also jiggle peek every corner if you really want to. You don't really need to, but you can. So like that. Now let's say you know he's at that corner. Let's say you heard him. Obviously in that position you can go ahead and look through the wall, and I would pre-fire like that. So you notice I hit him really quick, and most likely he probably couldn't react to that shot, my first click there, because whenever you peek in this game you have the advantage. So it's always good to make sure you're peeking players randomly. What most players are going to do, to show you what not to do, is when they come through halls, this is how they're going to play it. They're going to have their crosshair down, and they're going to be running like this, right? They're going to do like exaggerating peeking, where they peek out too far. Okay, and their crosshair is just all over the place. This happens a lot with pub players, more so with like kind of new competitive players too, but most invite players will have crosshairs down. So when you do come through halls, this is how you should put your crosshair placement for not knowing where he is. Now another thing too, what I just did there, you can even see it's out of habit. I put my crosshair through this wall because I think he would be there. Now what a lot of good players will do is they'll come up, yeah, perfect. They'll come up to a dark spot, come a little further. Yeah, so they'll scoot up to this far, because you'll see what happens again. If I do this, he has the advantage because now I have to pull my crosshair all the way over to the left. So when you come to this corner, if you guys can break habits just like what I just did there, you want to peek like with your crosshair coming around the corner, like that. So that's just an example in halls how you probably should take it with crosshair placement. And let's go look at another one. So follow me, Zondo. Let's go over to Banana. Now this is going to be a perfect example on ground level. If you guys haven't noticed that in this game, just like Source, the ground level is going to be different heights. So when you're running around, you're going to have to adjust your crosshair placement for what you're doing. Because you can see just right here, if you watch my crosshair, I won't move it, how much it goes up and down with the level. And there's places where you don't even realize that there is, you know, different levels. So just make sure when you are running around, you are adjusting for the level height. Alright, so let's say Zondo is coming up to that corner, and let's imagine he's not there yet, and you're just going to hold the corner. Another thing about crosshair placement is, where do you actually place your crosshair on the up and down axis and the left and right axis? Well, it really just depends. When you're playing people, some teams are going to come around the corner fast, some might actually just Jogo Peek, some players like to peek corners from a far angle, and some players like to peek from a close angle. And your crosshair placement is going to have to make up for all that. So the best you can do is kind of have it in a midway spot if you don't know how they've been peeking. So for instance, you can see Zondo peeking these corners real quick from close and far. So that's the head height for when he peeks close, and that's for when he peeks far. Now you notice it didn't change at all. And the reason for that is the actual levels in the game here. So if I was down here, and I have my crosshair placement here, it's going to look completely different. Now you notice how his head is now under my crosshair? But when he's up close, the head is actually right there. So when you change your height, it also changes where you're placing. So if I go up, I actually have the advantage because, look, I won't have to change my crosshair at all. So that's pretty much a headshot every time. So you want to make sure when you are holding angles or you're looking at angles, you place it right. And a lot of times you won't even know that there's a ledge here. Like, most people just think this is flat, so when they do come, it changes the complete look of the crosshair. And see, this is going to be the same height because it's both raised. It's not raised as much, but once you start doing angles from the other side, it's still going to raise you up. So the next thing would be, okay, now where am I going to place my crosshair for when he runs out? How far is my crosshair going to be out on the wall? For a general thumb rule, I personally like putting my crosshair about right there. And the reason for that, if they do run out, I can move a little bit to the left to hit him, or I can move a little bit to the right to hit him. Now, when you are playing scrims, you want to watch what the other team's doing, especially on how they're working, because there could be a lot of people who like to work up close angles, and they'll just repetitively do that because that's what they're comfortable with and that's what works for them. So if you start spotting that, you want to set up for that, and you want to make sure you're holding a good angle and you're aiming for people that are quick peeking, so you put your crosshair closer than what you would. You wouldn't want to put it out here. Now, let's say a guy's rushing on the corner. If Zondo, if you can go ahead and rush out. That's where I would put my crosshair, because maybe a little bit more right here, because what's going to happen is when I'm trying to react to this, when more than one guy is coming and you start spraying, there's going to be more behind him and they're going to follow the exact same path. So let's say me and Zondo are rushing B here. This is exactly what most of him will do. So he's pretty much going to follow my lead and my exact angle almost. So when you have your crosshair placed right, it's an easy lineup kill. And I think that's pretty much it with crosshair placement. If you guys have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll try and answer them for you. The next thing would be how to improve your aim. Well, crosshair placement is going to be probably 80% of that. It really means a lot, and I think Zondo would agree. Especially coming from Call of Duty to CS, he definitely noticed the difference in it. I believe Call of Duty was more about reaction shots, right, Zondo?
100% sure.
Yeah, so in this game, you definitely want to worry about putting your crosshair everywhere, and don't rely on your muscle memory. Now, the best way to get aiming, in my personal opinion, is just going in pubs. You could even play versus bots just to get it down. Another technique that I used to do a long time ago is, let's say you pick something on a wall, let's say like this window, and you act like this middle part here is the actual body of a model. If you're just sitting here and you want to practice your reaction shot, you could just slowly start out by doing this. And then you can, increase it and do something like that until you start getting it right. And you can also do that with spraying too. Now, when you do practice your spraying, you want to do one or two things. Like, this is a perfect example where you could do it because you have two windows here. You have white bars. So let's say there's 4 models there on each white bar. When you're spraying, you want to you want to shoot about 3 or 4 spray shots in each one of these white bars, so something like this.
Signs entered channel.
So you move it around so you can actually try and control your spray pattern. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the video and have a good day. See ya.